California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true
and
faith
allegiance to the Constitution
and allegiance to the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. Awesome, great, thank you, thank you.
You sign, fill in your name appropriate, pass them to David, who will sign, and I will speak at the end.
So welcome, congratulations to our new board members and alternates. It's great to have you. Next order of business is call to order. Roll call. And tonight we have approved teleconference participation under AB 449.
When I call your jurisdiction, if you'll please state your name, San Mateo County.
Jackie Spear?
Supervisor Spear?
I want to confirm that you can hear me, Supervisor Spear.
I can.
Oh, perfect. We're just doing a roll call for San Mateo
Got it.
County.
Here.
Okay, and participating via AB 2449 under just cause exemption. Okay, Atherton.
Rick DeGolia.
Thank you. Belmont.
Tom McEwen.
Brisbane. Pauline Mackin. Burlingame. Desiree Bear, alternate. Thank you. Tolna.
Ben Wells.
Daly City.
Rod Magloire.
East Palo Alto.
As a Romero.
Foster City. Half Moon Bay.
Patrick Johnson.
Hillsborough.
Leslie Ragsdale?
Los Banos. Give me just a moment to confirm if the mayor was able to join us virtually. He is here. One moment. Mayor Amabile, I'm going to promote you to panelists so that you are able to join the conversation.
Okay, thank you, Nellie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. Okay, Mayor Amabile, if you'll please turn on your camera and then say that you are present for roll call.
I am ready for roll call. Present.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you.
Menlo Park,
Betsy Nash.
Millbrae,
Andrew Starr.
Pacifica,
Christine Bowles.
Portola Valley,
Craig Taylor.
Redwood City, San Bruno,
Marty Medina.
San Carlos,
John Dugan here.
San Mateo,
I'm Rain.
South San Francisco,
James Wayne.
Woodside.
That's all numbers.
Perfect. Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you.
Fantastic. Next item is public comment. No one in the room? Any hands raised for public comment? Okay. Moving on. Action to set agenda and to approve consent agenda item.
So moved. Second.
Remove Coleman. Second Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
All roll call vote. Yeah,
Quick question as well. Sure. To us like you. Pardon me, but so David, if you wouldn't mind, there's an item that seems to be heavily San Mateo related in the consent calendar, and I just wondered if you had a recommendation to whether I may participate in a up or down vote from consent calendar, or if I should abstain. It's item number 2.
So I don't see any reason why you can't vote on it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry.
no problem. Roll call vote.
San Mateo County. San Mateo County,
Aye.
New Atherton,
Yes.
Belmont,
Aye.
Brisbane.
Yeah.
Burlingame. Yes. Colma.
Yeah.
Daly City,
Yes.
East Palo Alto,
Yes.
Foster City,
Yes.
Half Moon Bay,
Yes.
Hillsborough.
Yeah.
Los Banos,
Yes.
Menlo Park,
Yes.
Millbrae,
Aye.
Pacifica,
Yes.
Portola Valley,
Aye.
Redwood City, San Bruno,
Aye.
San Carlos.
Yes.
San Mateo,
Yes.
South San Francisco.
Yes.
Woodside.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Fantastic. On to the regular agenda. Yes, no problem. Chair report. So tonight I'm subbing for our chair, Donna Colson, and I have a very short report. First of all, there's a nominating committee comprised of Director DeGolia. And also, if anybody's interested, contact our board clerk, Nellie Watford, and our CEO.
Yes, and would you like to clarify?
Yeah. Pauline Matson
I'm sorry. Yeah.
and Craig Taylor are also on the nominating committee, which is the minimum number of people we need. If anybody else is interested in joining, just let one of us know. And anyone who wants, the purpose of the nominating committee is to recommend to this board who we will elect as chair and vice chair for this year. So anyone who is interested in applying for either one of those positions, please let one of the three of us know. And we will we will talk to everyone who's interested, and we will make a recommendation to this board at the next board meeting.
Fantastic. The other part of the chair report is I wanted to let everyone know that I was able to go to Los Banos, and we were able to meet the mayor and other council members there. Went with our CEO and with our legislative over here. There he is. There's Mark. And we had a really great time and sharing the experience of the benefits of having PCE. So it was a really good time. And I just wanted to thank the staff for arranging that, and it was a great visit. Moving on. CEO report.
Okay. All right, well, good evening, everyone. It is so nice to have a very full house tonight. Welcome to all of our new board members and new board alternates. All right. I also, before I dive into what's on the screen, I do want to just give a shout out to Councilmember Romero, who joined us yesterday for our quarterly all-staff meeting in East Palo Alto. We met at Cooley Landing, which was just a great facility. And we had Carlos come and do a Bayside chat with us, talk a little bit about the history of East Palo Alto and our service territory, your own history as a councilman, and some thoughts about PCE. So we do want to just say thanks for volunteering your time. And we enjoyed it. Thanks.
Thank you for having Carlos Moreno, who interviewed me, did a fantastic job.
He did, agreed. Yes, thank you so much for that. Okay, so just some quick updates. So for new board member orientation, we're almost done. Tonight was, I hope, a helpful meeting for many of you. We are almost done with our one-on-one briefings. We will meet with you, councilman, and then that'll wrap up. I do want to just thank the board mentors who have agreed to serve to help out. I believe there was a new connection established this evening. Thank you so much. And I also want to say that I have office hours every Friday morning, and then every Thursday of a board meeting. If you have any questions that you need to reach us for any reason, please use those office hours to make sure we can connect. So thank you for all of you for your participation, and I know it's a lot to learn and it gets better. The Community Advisory Committee, the new member application for the CAC is March 1st, so that's coming right around the corner. So encourage any of your constituents who might like to apply for the CAC to please do so. Follow up with the person that I believe there's an application online. And then for board members, we are seeking a couple more of you to serve as CAC liaison. This is something that Colleen Mackin had done, for the most part here over the last couple of years, and she now has a conflicting CCAG obligation. And I know we've got Betsy and a few others that have raised their hand. If one or two more are interested, the CAC meets once a month, in the evening. And it's great to just have a board member present to listen and hear what the discussion is. So let Kirsten, Andrew Schwinn, or myself know if you're interested in that role. Executive committee and audit and finance committee appointments will now be done in April. It got pushed by a month, so we'll do the officers next month in March. And then executive committee and audit and finance. Let the chair and the vice chair know if you're interested in serving on either of those committees. And then, especially for the new folks here, we have a number of staff-led subcommittees that meet on a periodic basis, nothing on a regular basis, but we have a program subcommittee. We're looking for one new member there for folks who are interested. We have a marketing subcommittee. We're looking for 2 folks there. Their work will really be focused in on the research and evaluation of a name change, if we decide to do that. We're looking for 2 people there. Procurement is full. We currently have 5 board members serving on the procurement subcommittee. Legislative is looking for 1 additional member. And then the board has an ad hoc strategic planning committee. We could take 1 more person, especially from new board members, if you would like to join that. So those are all the opportunities to plug in, and we sure would appreciate your participation. Okay, Mark, quick legislative update.
Good evening, directors. Mark Kirkman, Director of Affairs. Welcome. I want to update you on a couple of things that have happened since the legislative update was prepared for packet 2 weeks ago. But first, I want to share with you the exciting news, if you haven't heard already. We've added Mike Milkey to our staff, our legislative department. Appreciate signing on, and also with us this evening, Spencer Major, our lobbyist specific policy, is with us and helps and some of the other matters this evening. As noted on the slide, the bill introduction deadline was February 21, so that date has passed. A lot of bills came in this year as spot bills. They're not fully collected out. Legislators have an additional bit of time to add some meat to the bones, and in the Assembly, that's the 7th of March. Senate, it's the 6th of March, but really they need to get the information to leg staff sooner than that. So hopefully we'll be seeing out soon, and what in particular I want to discuss in a moment. Want to highlight a few bills, but I'm going to turn it back to Sean. One of the bills that was introduced since we last met, and after the packet was put together, is SB 540, introduced by San Mateo County's Josh Becker.
Yeah, I'll be very quick. I just did a quick pass around of the fact sheet for SB 540, as Mark mentioned. This is a pretty critical bill this year that's being carried by Senator Becker in our own service territory. So he reached out to us early on, along with CalCCA, which is our trade association, to seek our support. And briefly, what this will give you much more information, but this is kind of the next chapter, if you will, on earlier efforts that were under the moniker regionalization, Western regionalization. But there were 2 legislative efforts previously that failed in the regionalization attempt, primarily because there were governance issues related to having a California-centric governance structure, and also labor was not supportive of those earlier efforts, among other things, but those were the 2 big ones. So the idea of a legislative push at that time was scrapped, and instead there was a collection of energy experts, energy partners, stakeholders that came together over the past 18 months on a regular basis, including the policy director from CalCCA, to come up with a new proposal that would be acceptable as much as possible to all parties. And what it does is that instead of turning the California Independent System Operator, CAISO, instead of evolving that function into a regional transmission organization, an RTO, which would have had CAISO's governance, which was turning off, frankly, other states from being interested in a regional market. It scrapped that, and instead, what's proposed here is continued work on the creation of a regional organization that would open up energy markets and set sort of the rules of the road for Western energy markets, which just allows more interstate trading. It does a number of things. I want to point out on the back sheet, there's a summary down here that does a pretty good job of succinctly saying why it's valuable. But just really quickly, from our point of view, it really supports grid reliability. It supports the optimization of solar projects, which for us is really important because the right project that we have near Los Banos is very often curtailed. And this new opportunity perhaps optimizes the ability for that to actually run and do really use the full generation capacity of that project. That's just one example. There have been several studies that show that it could ultimately reduce greenhouse gas emissions in our state and potentially save 800 million a year in customer costs. So there are a number of reasons why when Senator Becker called, and I will tell you it was pretty last minute, close to the deadline, that we were quick to respond. I will say that we worked with Greg Colson and Vice Chair Medina, so thank you very much, to make sure that we were simpatico and could support the bill. I will also say that it is included in our legislative platform. We included it last year and it carried forward to this year. So that's a very quick flyover, but I wanted to make you all aware of it because it's been a hot button issue in the past. And we feel and we hope that there's sort of a clearer path in the Pathways Initiative. So take a look at that and back to Mark.
Thank you, Sean. I want to highlight 3 other bills. They are in your packet in both bill matrix and I believe in the narrative, but I just want to let you know we're following these quickly. The first one is AB 306. This is part of a package of bills that the Assembly Speaker, Mr. Rivas, introduced along with the legislators. This one in particular caught our attention. It would put a moratorium essentially on reach codes for about 6 years, beginning in 2056. It's been introduced as part of a package of bills to address wildfires and also housing issues in the state of California, and it would have impact statewide as it's currently drafted. The other 2 bills I want to highlight concern energy storage. I'm sure most of you have heard about the Moss Landing fire, and I bring that to your attention. A lot of improvements have been made in batteries since that time, but we're very interested in legislating 2 bills to address that issue. One is AB 303 from Assemblymember Addis, who represents that part of the state. This bill would limit battery construction under certain conditions, and so we're looking at that, but also Senator John Laird, who also represents that area, has introduced a spot bill. It hasn't been fleshed out yet. We look forward to his language, but he has emphasized that he's going to take a more cautious approach. If you have any questions about energy storage, please let us know. Be happy to address those issues for you.
I would also note that PCE put together an FAQ on battery storage that we included with my CEO report in your board packet, so you can take a look at that. We wanted to be responsive to questions we're getting from our customers, so it is also up on our website. Okay.
Questions?
I think next up is federal impacts, right?
Not.
I think the next slide. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Any questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark.
Good evening, Royce City Resources. We talk about how some of the federal actions today has been impacting PCE, particular procurement activities. So as we all know, President Trump had issued a series of executive orders to seek office. One of the earlier ones that he signed was what I call an anti-wing executive order. Basically, it calls any new federal land leases for offshore wind project, and it imposes additional restrictions on permitting and siting for onshore and offshore wind projects. So these, this executive order has stopped a lot of investment into the wind development. And some of the developers that we are talking to are one in particular, Lava Ridge project, had specifically called out in the legislation, in the executive order, and this will happen to be the project that we're negotiating. And so, as for example, that project is also really challenged. Also, there's a Catamount project that we're also negotiating with CC Power. It's an offshore wind project, 60 megawatts, but it's on state water. Although it's on state water, but it does first through several federal jurisdictions that requires private federal permit. So that one is also challenged. And there are a few other projects that we were talking to and now back stop negotiation because of the uncertainties that the federal government is bringing to the projects. One positive news is that the SunZia project, which is the one that was signed in 2023, 20 megawatts from New Mexico, that one has indicated that they have not been impacted by the federal action so far. So we're fortunate that that project is scheduled to come online in correct also. So the first line here is, any future opportunity to contract for wind projects that's in California, outside of California, and if there's any available, it would be very nice. And just to take a step back, the reason that we need projects in our portfolio is because we have quite a bit of solar in our portfolio, and solar projects take shapes. It's shown in about curtailment that's probably based with solar generation, and wind generation tend to create shape and profile that will help us with our municipal goal and other compliance meeting other compliance requirements. I'll stop here on this piece first before I go to the tariff. So the next piece, I'm sure everybody has heard that there's now a 10% tariff on Chinese imports and 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. And these new tariff have already created impacts on our current negotiation projects. There will be more tariff coming on non-EV battery storage system. And that is 25% starting in 2026. And that one's actually by the distribution. Currently that tariff, Section 301 tariff is about 7%. So the 10% on China is in addition to what's already in place. So in this case, starting January 2026, we'll have 35% plus. Or if the developers that we're talking to try to import battery systems from China. So all of these costs will be passed on to us if we decide to continue to procure battery storage systems. It's also very important for in addition to tariff, there's concerns on tax incentives being reduced, modified, or repealed. And that is the investment tax credit, production tax credit. The investment tax credit is now 30%. It's the base. You can qualify for additional adders, additions. So developers are very concerned that there will be federal actions. If that does happen, very real energy industry state. And the indirect impact of all these uncertainties is the reduction of financing opportunities for the projects and just interest for clean energy investments. So all these uncertainties will continue to negatively impact our contracting, price, and terms. And lastly, there's going to be a lot of funding reduction, a lot of job cuts that we hear from the news almost every day. And those will definitely slow down the renewable and transmission development. To the federal agencies such as BLM that choose permanent federal lands, could be FAA, could be Forest Corps, Fish and Wildlife, so all these agencies that has a role to play in space now could be impacted, so. Sorry, I don't have better news to share, but this is the new environment we're in. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Glenn. Appreciate it. All right, keep going here. Uh-oh. It's just person. No, that's not it. Okay, here we go. Whoops. All right, so completely different topic, a little lighter. And that is some recent call center statistics. So many of you know that last May, the board approved us bringing in-house a call center, which is a change from all the previous years since our launch of outsourcing the call center. And I have to say that we're very pleased in the first several months of operation, launched in December. So this is really, these are some quick stats from the first 2 months really of operation. Laptop one way, and I cannot read that far. So hold on 1 second. Sorry, folks. All right, here we go. So since December 10th, the call center was able to answer 800 calls. That is significant. And so they've been busy. We were worried, like, you know, how's the flow of work really going to go? Is there going to be a lot of extra time? Once things settle in, there may be extra time to support the administrative function, but so far, our call center reps, there are 3 of them, are very busy. They've been able to retain over 40 customers who called to opt out. So this is a real difference because in the past, you know, a customer would call to opt out, use our vendor agency, very nice folks, but there wasn't a lot of interaction or deep dive discussion about the benefits of being with PCE. And so the opt out just was processed. In this way, we're able to retain customers who otherwise might have left our service. Got some compliments, which is great. This next category here is we have handled 102 calls in Spanish and 8 in Mandarin. Those are the 2 most common languages besides English that are spoken in our service territory. And several of you have asked, what is the most common topic? So number 1 is bill inquiry and just sort of, why is my bill so high? General information about PCE and our programs and our products, net energy metering, which is NEM, and the NEM cash out. How does that work? How does the true up work? And then our various programs and our rebates. I think what's really important to know is that in probably 2 or maybe 3, Leslie, categories here, in the old system where it was an outsourced vendor, for many of these topics, they would have had to refer in-house to in-house staff to then call the person back to walk them through it. By then, maybe you already lost the customer. So I really feel like the ability for our customer service reps to take a deep dive and have a 360 view of the customer, I think has yielded already positive results. Is there anything you want to add, Leslie?
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are these numbers, the 800 calls over 2 months, comparable to what the call center was getting, or is it more or less, or is there any comparison to be made?
Yeah, so I mean, it's about the same volume as we were getting previously, up a little bit because we have had some new communications going out with a couple different things happening with programs team. So there's been some follow-up in on that, and there also has been with the launch of the solar billing plan, which is the new solar program. There's a lot more confusion, I think, with some of that bill presentment, and so we're getting some more questions about that than we would normally have gotten previously, but it's around the same call volume that we were getting. So just now we're handling it internally, less escalations, and we handle, you know, we're further out. We're getting to be able to help people in most cases, just an outline call and not having to set up callbacks and follow up. If they handle that.
Did you come up here? Sorry, you had a question and then Supervisor.
Well, after Leslie finishes, want to make sure Director Spear is her hands up. Just want to make sure that staff's aware of that.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Director Spear.
I just want clarification. You said 40 customers were retained. How many did we lose?
Oh, so the opt-out numbers, we typically have around 10 to 20 customers a week that are opting out for various reasons. But and some of them opt out without talking to us. So there is an option to opt out in our website, not have a conversation with the call center rep and just process and opt out that way. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but I can assure you that the number is quite a bit lower, especially in the Los Banos community. That's the community where we're having a much higher instance of opt-outs in general. We've had several weeks actually where we've had only like 1 or 2 opt-outs from Los Banos, where previously we were having like 15 to 20 every week from that community.
So are you saying that if it's 10 a week, that means we had 70 people over the course of this time frame that opted out?
Roughly, yeah, but that's actually quite low. That's actually the lowest instance of for in general for most CCAs that are in operation. They're actually experiencing 30 to 50 opt-outs a week on average. There's a turnover of accounts of about 5% on a monthly basis. So on every month we're enrolling roughly I'm sorry, not 5%, 3%. So we're enrolling roughly like 5,000 to 6,000 new customers every month that move in, move out. And so some of those folks that are just turnover moving into the territory are people that they get our notice. You move in notice welcoming to PCE, where you're a service provider. You do have the option to opt out. These are required mailings that we have to send out by the state. And so some folks get that, they're like, I don't know what this is, I don't know what benefit program. They opt out. So there's a natural churn of people that are just gonna be out of service all the time. I don't think we'll ever get to like no opt-outs ever on a continuous basis, but we are very, very low compared to our peers in our opt-outs and much higher in participation than any other CCA.
Okay, thank you.
Leslie, under the heading of general info, are those typically existing customers desiring more information about programs, or are they potential customers considering opting in?
If they're usually mostly existing customers that are asking just information. And general info is where we don't have like another category that accurately describes it. So it's not an M call, it's not a rebate call, it's not a high bill call. It's just somebody calling and asking us a variety of questions. Yeah.
Thank you.
So when you have a conversation with a customer who initially was going to opt out, but you retain them, do you find that these are folks who generally don't know about PCE and you're letting them know, or are you like changing their mind, or what are the arguments that are getting them to stay with PCE?
That's significant, because when someone's gone through the process and they've internally made this decision, like I want to cancel this service, to turn that around in a call, with a call rep, is actually a pretty, significant thing to do. If you think to yourself, like, oh, I don't want this, I've already made this decision, I felt like I've done my research and I just need to end this relationship. Most of the time you don't want to hear someone try to sell you on changing your mind, because like just process a request, right? And so the CSA team being able to explain to folks like, actually the benefit for you, if you have the choice to opt out, but opting out means you actually are going to pay more. This is not an additional charge and bill. And really spending time to walk through with folks on the benefit of having CCA service with Peninsula Clean Energy and all of the other things that we do offer with our programs. That's when you're like, oh, I didn't know that that's what was happening here. I thought this was costing me more money. And so able to turn it around when we talk to somebody, we're able to do that, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Director Taylor?
So mine's a follow-on to that. When somebody does opt out, are you able to say, you know, after you've had a chance to be in the opt-out world and you see your bill goes up, feel free to call us and we'll opt out.
If you receive service from the CCA for more than 2 months, for more than 60 days, if you opt out, you have to stay with with PG&E for a year before you're eligible to re-enroll. We do have people that have re-enrolled. We've had, I would think probably, just even since we launched the unbilled financing program, that's actually been a really decent driver for folks wanting to re-enroll in the program. They find out about that. They're like, oh, I can get this free loan. Great. And then find out, oh, actually, I'm a PCE customer, I need to sign up to get that. So we've been able to enroll a few dozen people out of service because of that program. Also some of the outreach we did in the fall for the SGIP, low income battery, solar storage program, we were able to re-enroll a handful of folks through that communication effort as well. Yeah.
Now, I think the question I was trying to ask is, do you make it clear to them that they can re-enroll? I mean, I get that it's a year, so I mean, it's not trivial, they can't change their mind next month, but to say, hey, you know, we're sorry you're going, but.
Yeah, we have to tell them, yes, we do tell them that you can re-enroll, but if you do have to wait a year. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, glad to hear of the progress of retaining them. When we do lose them, I didn't understand that year we had to wait, but do we do an outreach after that year and say, hey, don't you want to save 5% now that you've experienced a whole year of PG&E?
Yeah, so we haven't, it's a great question. And we talked about, you know, trying to approaching like an outreach campaign, you know, for customers that have previously opted out. There's some different nuances around that. So once you leave service, you leave your original vintage year, you have to then re-enroll in a vintage. So there's more complications. They're not necessarily a guaranteed, you know, sort of discount right now. It's a good choice. It would be a really good time because the newest vintage people actually are gonna get like a 30% discount for a handful of months, but that's not true forever. And so we have to be very strategic and careful about how we communicate those savings benefits to folks who are part of our core group of customers that we do our rate making based on.
Got it. I just think it'd be pretty core to our mission to try to pull those folks back.
Yeah.
I think that's a worthy effort.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about it, and especially from a programs perspective, and people trying to do some strategic, you know, outreach to customers if they are not already. We are already serving like 97% of the service territory, so it's a very small amount of people that we're not serving. But if there's folks that we're not serving, that would be really good candidate for some of our programs. We will definitely, you know, do that outreach to them.
Any other questions? Director Romero?
Question, I just wanted to point out that this may possibly be costing us a little bit more, but the fact that we can find out precisely why people want to stay in, why people want to opt out, and get that detail with our own folks, I think completely justifies these expenditures, because we can answer these questions with kind of great certainty, right? So I think this is for this first month, I think this is great, and I appreciate the feedback we're getting from.
I would like to add on to that and also note, based on the data here, out of 46 calls to opt out, 42 stayed. That's over 90%. Otherwise, these people may have just left, like, nah, I didn't talk to anybody, I'm out of here, I don't understand it. So I just wanted to note that, because that's huge. Over 90% of the calls when they're, I want to get out, and they change their mind, right? Yes, sir.
So yeah, I think you said the key word, I don't understand it, because I'm new, I'm trying to understand this.
Right.
And I'm wondering, like, what came to my mind was, all right, I'm a PG&E guy, and then I'm gonna switch to you guys. And then what if it doesn't work? Will PG&E take me back? Are they gonna change my rate? You know, you get that kind of like fear. There's almost this fear. You latch on to something you know you had for a long time. So education would be the key, and making sure that people know that this won't happen, right? This can happen. This is what the benefits are, educating in the full circle.
Indeed.
Director DeGolia.
This is 100% good training. This is only getting that kind of response in a call center requires agents who know what they're talking about. That's 100% good training. This doesn't happen just because we're making the connections. It happens because we have people talking to customers who are sensitive to the customers and listening to the customers and communicating with the customer. Oh, thank you, Leslie. It's really good.
Just one last one, you know, I work with some technology companies, and something they do from time to time is they cycle all their staff through the call center to just hear what customers are saying. And everyone that does that finds it very educational.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Russell. All right, I'm almost done, I promise, because then we got to get to the main event. Okay, so really quick, I think many of you know that our lease at this location ends next September. So we are starting to look at options. We have retained JLL Commercial Real Estate to serve as our broker. Just so you know, the fees are not paid by us. They're paid by either the lessor or the seller, should we choose to go that direction. We are exploring 3 options. One is to stay here, and we're gonna run the numbers on that. One is to move to a new location with a 5 to 7 year lease. And the third would be to purchase a building, purchase an office space. I can tell you that B is looking like the likely outcome, although we'll see. So we have begun looking at office space. We expect a decision to come to the board for approval sometime this fall, and potential move of September of next year. So I just want to keep you all informed, and I do want to acknowledge Nellie, Nick, Mark, and Catherine Hansen on our team, who are part of our facilities team driving the effort. Any questions?
I'll just ask, I know San Mateo County has viewed this moment in time as a very strategic time to be buying office space, and they have a team that's been doing that very effectively. And I'm just, have you thought about it that way strategically? Because it is a unique period of time.
So JLL can also do both leases and real estate transactions. So we are looking at both. And I think it really is, it's gonna be an option that we look at. I mean, Nick may have something to say now, but I also think that we have to look at and be prepared for some of the headwinds that are coming around that PCIA exit fee. That's likely to absorb a good chunk of that extra day's cash on hand. But it could be a good use of our investment earnings. So TBD. And yes, we are looking at this.
One thing I'll just add, to practicality, the size of space that we're looking at, something like 6,000 to 7,000 square feet, are hard to find single, standalone buildings to purchase. They're usually a lot bigger, at least in the areas we want to be, which is sort of more one-on-one corridor near public transportation. So we may have a desire to buy because we think it's a good deal, we use for money. There just may not be as many options. Not to say there's none, and we're going to try and explore and find that timing in the rough. With just JLL kind of advised us that there's just not going to be as many as there will be lease options. So we'll explore.
Other questions?
Yeah, our lease ends in September of 2026, right? Not
Yes.
2025.
Yeah.
Okay.
26.
2025, that's
Oh,
2026.
apologies, did I misspeak? Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Okay, and then quick, just flyby, just so that you have a sense of what's upcoming. I mentioned earlier in the orientation session that we've come out of a period of rapid growth. A lot of pent-up demand around staffing, around program scale, really shoring up our procurement team and our approach. And we're in a little bit more of a steady state, implementation state. But that doesn't mean that there's still plenty going on. So in March, just gonna run through this so you know what we're up to. Budget season kicks off. That's Nick and his team. Monday. Oh, yay. PCE 2024 performance evaluations. That doesn't affect you guys, but that is a big chunk of time and always a staff favorite. Power resources contract approvals. There are 2 that we are working on to come before you probably in March and April respectively. Approval of a residential solar and storage program. We're gonna hear a little bit more about that. I think with Peter, but was referenced earlier as kind of a revival of what we used to call Power on Peninsula. And we've retooled that program. We're gonna bring it back to you. We have 2 board study sessions coming up in March that I think are really critical. One is that Roy Zhu, we call him Professor Roy. He's a great teacher. He's gonna talk to us about PCE Energy 101. Because it's a lot more than just power contracts. There's all kinds of things that his team does for us. And then related to that, a separate board study session with Nick and Justin Kudo, our rates director, to give us a session on managing market volatility and how that really impacts budget decisions and rate decisions. So a lot coming up next month for you all. In April, there are tons of community events because it's Earth Day. So if any board members would like to participate, it's really fun. We go out to different community events and we have a booth and we hang out with the kids and teach about what we're up to. So if anyone wants to come and volunteer with us on a weekend, please let us know. We are expecting a tariff update for our green tariff program. It's for Caltrain specifically related to regenerative braking. That's all I'm going to say for now because it's not a agendized item. Another contract, and then referenced earlier, distributed energy resources plan. This is something that the board has been waiting on for a long time. So we're very excited to bring this to the board. It's really what we call the 3rd leg of the stool to complete our program's menu of options for our customers. In May, we're going to relaunch the e-bike program. It's a very popular program, and we're going to shift from it being just a periodic once a year to an annual program that will happen all year round. It is still $1,000 rebate. And then in June, there will be many stops at Audit and Finance Committee, but in June, the board will be hopefully adopting our fiscal year 25 and 26 budget. So that's a flyover of all the various big ticket items that we're working on, plus a lot of other things. Any questions?
Question behind
it. Yes.
From the public?
Sure.
Okay, nice. My name is Rick Bonilla. Thanks and welcome to all the new members that are here tonight. I'm a former board member and I really care a lot about this organization. On this report right now, I was really impressed with the report that we had on the call center and with the fact that the advent of the, I guess, very creative conversation that is able to keep people who are trying to opt out to stay in. This is very significant. And I know that when it was mentioned by Leslie that our opt-in rate is about 97%, that's important because we've always been between like 97 and 98%. Other organizations doing the same thing have not ever achieved this rate of opt-in. So we're doing great. We've always been great. I'm here to make sure we stay great. I want to support all of you in the way I can. So thank you all for that. Appreciate it.
Any more public comment online?
I don't know why this isn't working. Can you advance the slide? We've already done that. Sorry, keep going. Okay, so just really quick, that's a calendar of what's happening between now and March 30th. I'm also just gonna flag for you that we have a ribbon cutting event in Los Banos. Mayor Emma Beal will be there. And it's March 28th. It's a ribbon cutting for 2 GovPV projects. One at the community center and one at the wastewater treatment center. So a number of us will be going down and participating with the city council. We are here to do that for you in your community as well, when you launch your solar projects. So that concludes my remarks, and back to you, Chair.
So any other comments? Any online comments? Okay. CAC report, Mr. Mendelson.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Medina, Honorable PCE Board, PCE staff, and members of the community. And I especially want to welcome the new members. I hope to meet you as you start this off. I want to thank you, Stoll. I don't know if you call it alternate member Thayer, but Ms. Thayer was on the CAC from its inception. She served with us for 7 years since the beginning as a charter member, and even before that. So she might know even more than some of the veteran board members here as you get going. So I recommend you reach out to her. She's fantastic. I'm delighted to share with you what occurred at the Pennsylvania Clean Energy Community Advisory Committee meeting on February 13th, 2025. The primary focus was a presentation and discussion on the analysis of the greenhouse gas impacts from REACH codes and other municipal policies. As you recall, the CAC requested this review in 2024 and the board approved it. Blake Hershaft, the Building Electrifications Program Manager, presented a very informative analysis, and the CAC hopes to hear more on this in the near future and report back with recommendations. Next, the CAC reviewed the wonderful new website and was instructed on how to help test it and provide feedback going forward. Kirsten Andrew Schwind, Associate Director of Community Relations and Climate Equity, presented the topic, and the CAC is very excited about this new way to interface with the public and provide them information about PC's important mission, works, and programs. It is fantastic. I recommend you all bug one about it as much as possible. Next, the CAC reviewed our member satisfaction surveys. I thought you guys already received this, but I was told by staff it'd be provided to you in the board newsletter. I really recommend you look at it. Almost all of the members participated. It gives you a numerical value, but also some insights into what we are interested in and hope we're helping you guys with. I wanted to point out some important highlights. 12 of the 13 respondents marked the progress of the CAC as either a 4 or a 5, most often taking note of the feeling that the CAC was able to impact the board and PCE in a meaningful way and appreciative of that. Every member who responded gave either a 4 or 5 on their satisfaction for serving on the CAC. Similarly, almost all 5s on the staff support. We all love the PCE staff. Almost all of the members of the CAC reported to be very engaged and eager to help even more in the future. Please do look at those surveys. I've been assured they'll be provided in your newsletter. We also had a discussion on the upcoming events, especially some of the things you just saw for Earth Day and other community liaison opportunities going forward. We received working group reports from the Building Electrification Working Group and the Transportation Working Group. You will be receiving in the coming months our annual memos on what we've done and hope to accomplish on behalf of the organization. I want to thank all of you again, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 8.
I'm gonna set this one up. Peter Levitt, our senior manager in the program area related to DERs, is gonna talk to us tonight about what we lovingly call GovPD. So many of you who have been on our board for a long time know what GovPD is. I had asked Peter to take a step back to educate some new board members about a little bit more about what the program is, how we've done in round 1, what we're up to in round 2, and then perhaps a little peek into round 3. So take it away, Peter. Thank you.
Great. Hello, everybody, honorable members of the board of directors, honorable members of the public, PC staff. I stand before you frankly honored and excited to give you an update on a program that has been years in the making. Before we jump in, I wanted to express gratitude to key staff, Rafael Reyes, Dave Freibush, and Ross Fisher. All of what we're about to talk about could not have happened without their vital support. And before we jump in, I want to step back and celebrate some key wins here. This is the San Bruno Aquatic Center. This is one of 36 projects that we are developing that are in various stages of project development within our service territory at public agency facilities. Today, we have 7 projects that are generating solar power at those facilities. This exceeds 200 kilowatts. It's a very large scale project for a project of its type. This is the Atherton Town Hall project. Ooh, we have the Mission Blue Center on the left. We have San Carlos Youth Center on the right. Now I get it, these are small looking projects, but they are mighty. Combined, the projection for all of these projects in terms of expected customer savings is over $48 million across all 30 cities. Now, to put that into perspective, PCE is 9 years old, about 8.5 years old. And we've saved our customers about $187 million. And this is all incremental to that. That's everything. That's the generation bill credit, the funds that we gave through the surplus funds after COVID. It's everything. So this really adds up over time. And what we're going to talk with you about today is we're going to give you an overview of what we do in this program, but we're mainly here to talk about how we're adding battery storage and EV supply equipment or EV chargers to these sites. We'll also talk about broader program strategy, and we have a recommendation for you. So this is one of the programs under the energy programs team, under the broader umbrella of distributed energy resources. DERs is one of the 3 legs of the stools, or soon to be 4 legs of the stools for energy programs. And we're working on spinning up additional programs in the distributed energy resources umbrella, residential solar and storage, virtual power plants. And over the next 2 months, we're going to come back to you with recommendations in each of those additional sectors under DERs. The aim of the GovPV program is to accelerate renewable energy at local government facilities. When you do that, you achieve energy cost reductions to the agencies that are participating. You shield against rising PG&E rates. Each of these agencies have their own sustainability goals that we're helping them to achieve. And when you add battery storage, you can deliver resilience or backup power, and you can also deliver value to Peninsula Clean Energy. The aim long-term, broader objective is to create a reproducible program and a new line of business for PCE. As I mentioned, we have 36 total sites under the program cohorts, round 1 and 2. And in total, those represent over 5 megawatts of solar. So apologies for those of you in the room here, but this is a very small text, but you can see the little blue dots show that we have projects all over our service territory. It's quite a diversity. We've got East County, North County, some in Pacifica. So it's a little bit all over. And we're still working on expanding this yet. I want to flag here that our contractor, McMillan Electric, is a local union shop. So each of these projects is getting built with union labor, local union labor, which is just such a success. And we do a lot to make these projects happen. We really handhold the customer who participates in this program. We provide hands-on consulting about what their options are. We help educate them about the nuances of energy. Fun fact, it's not always intuitive. We support with the design of their systems, creating financial projections, and we run their procurement. So we orchestrate the procurement of all the equipment and the installation services as well. We do that in a group purchase. By doing that in a group purchase, a contractor coming to us isn't seeing one project, they're seeing a dozen or 2 dozen. And to them, it allows them to achieve economies of scale because it harmonizes all of their project development activities in one big chapter for them. We finance all of this. We finance all the equipment so that there's no upfront cost to the customer. And we finance this through a power purchase agreement. When we do that, it is not a private sector coming in with finance, but it's Peninsula Clean Energy, who is not profit driven. So we can bring a very low cost of capital. And that means a lot to a project that will be around for 20 or 30 years. It's also worth noting that when we finance in this way with the power purchase agreements, we get to leverage something called the investment tax credit. Many of you are familiar already. And PCE is not a tax-paying entity, but through the Inflation Reduction Act, they created a mechanism called elective pay, where if you're a public agency and you own a project like we own these solar projects, you can file to receive what you would have gotten in the form of a tax credit. So that's called elective pay or direct pay. And as of today, I joke you not, we got our first check from the IRS. We got actual funds flowing out of the IRS into PCE bank account. It's also worth noting, we are extremely transparent with customers going throughout this process. We have no profit motive. We open our books, we show them everything that's going on. It really is a solid customer experience. It's very customer centric. So rounding out the business model of this program, and this kind of reiterates some of what I already said, we execute a construction agreement with a contractor that we competitively sourced for the equipment and installation of services. We own and operate those resources. And at certain points, we can transfer ownership to the customer, but the fundamental model is that PCE owns the resources. And then subsequently, on the right-hand side there, we have a power purchase agreement with all the facilities that are participating in the program so that they can go through us as a financing conduit to these projects and pay for the production of the energy rather than putting out an upfront cost to buy the equipment themselves. So now we're going to talk about adding battery storage and EV charging here. So to explain the next phase of the program, I'm going to walk you through the structure of how we're expanding back to battery storage and EV charging, talk about battery safety, and drill into the why behind why we're adding batteries and EV chargers. Numerous agencies have been asking about battery storage since we started this program. And as of a couple weeks ago, the county just started an effort to add battery storage to all of its libraries through the Office of Emergency Management. So the real impetus for all of this, the original impetus for the program was to drive battery storage. The solar is financing all of those projects, or really causing funds to finance those projects. As I mentioned, there are over $48 million of projected savings, and the battery storage costs, oh, my apologies. The battery storage costs do not eclipse those savings. So we are using the savings that we're garnering through the solar installations to leverage interest in battery storage. We've been developing the contract terms, all the cost estimates, and all the financial tools required to build 22 community resiliency centers at these GovPV sites, GovPV being the colloquial term for the program. So that's 22 single site microgrids. Some of those will fall off. Some customers will lose interest. But even if we get 2/3 of those installed, that is a lot of resiliency at public agency facilities. The batteries themselves can drive outage protection in the face of a power outage. And the solar can recharge charge the batteries the next day to increase the amount of energy resiliency afforded to the system. The batteries themselves can also reduce energy charges in the evening, and that activity gives Peninsula Clean Energy cost alleviation in our procurement arm as well. So just like the solar, PCE will own and maintain the batteries. And we'll do all of this in a consultative educational process, just like we do in solar. We'll come to the agencies for the design of the equipment, we'll project the finances, and if they accept it, and if their city councils accept it, they will sign a PPA amendment with PCE. These are the unflattering or unflashy equipment that we're looking to install. They're not giant facilities like you'll see in the power resources side. And again, apologies about the extremely small text here, but if you look really closely, you'll see green check marks, and those are all the facilities where we're looking to install. And this should all be in your board packet as well. These projects are fundamentally different than the power resources side. We know that battery fires have been in the news recently. And if you haven't already, definitely encourage you to check out the FAQ that we've put together for battery storage and how we plan on mitigating those risks. I want to impart two key messages about battery safety. The first is that these are small systems and intrinsically they are substantially different than the large scale projects that you see in the news for the most part. The second is that the industry has come a long way over the last few years. There's been a lot more coordination with local fire safety stakeholders like firefighters. There have been stronger fire safety standards that have been put into place. And then there's a few really material ones I want to highlight here. The battery cell chemistry of these resources has really changed over the last few years. From nickel, magnesium, cobalt, which is the kind of the old way, to lithium iron phosphate. You don't need to know what those things are, but what you need to know is that LFP, lithium iron phosphate batteries, do not contain any conflict metals like old batteries used to, and they have less thermal runaway like old batteries used to. Another material change in the industry is that the resources are no longer built within big building enclosures. And instead, they're built oftentimes either as a standalone unit or in on a very small scale, or in a shipping container. And when they're built in a containerized solution like that, you can really control the airflow, which feeds fire, and also the sprinkler system, which can targetedly direct liquid to the thermal events. Then lastly, we'll highlight that the UL certification process has evolved as well to keep up with these standards and to have stricter requirements on battery products themselves. So GovPB batteries will be getting installed after the solar portion of each of these projects that are moving forward with the battery portion of the project are commissioned. And as I mentioned, the lifetime solar savings is, on an average basis, a lot bigger than the lifetime battery costs. So we think that it will be not an easy thing to adopt as a public agency, but it'll be fiscally attractive for them to move forward. The battery storage itself can provide a resiliency at each site, like I mentioned, and it can create a new revenue stream to Peninsula Clean Energy. So this goes back to that, that line of thinking that this is a strategic endeavor for us to open this program in this way. We're forecasting that about 5 megawatt hours of battery storage capacity will be installed in the end. I'm going to gloss over this. It's a little redundant to what we've talked about. And I'm going to talk about the EV charging scope, or EV supply equipment. So we hadn't originally intended to add EV chargers at a bunch of sites here, but state code now requires that we add EV chargers and make some spots EV capable due to it's triggered when some sort of disruption at the parking lot happens in a construction activity like solar. And so our contractor, McMillan Electric, they have experience building EV charging equipment. And coincidentally, they're already out there trenching through the parking lot and running conduit. And so they're doing a lot of the construction activities required for EV charging already. So the good thing is that this isn't a major disruption to our program. But what this means is that we're going to, at the end of installing all our solar and battery storage, also install about 44 EV chargers and create approximately 190 EV capable spaces. This will mainly be funded through our EV Ready program, which gives incentives for EV charger adoption. And then the rest is recovered through payments within their power purchase agreement price. So again, we're already building the solar and it has a substantial overlap to the EV charging scope. So we bake that into their PPA price. And apologies if that's a little confusing. I'm happy to answer any questions on that front. But we're almost done here, so I want to get to the strategy portion. So we started off with this initial business model: build solar, save people money. We are now incorporating battery systems and EV chargers. But this program is scaling, and I'll touch on that in a moment. The next key strategic step for us is to seek third-party capital to really unlock scale and a lot of new deployments. Down the line, we also want to add in new technology categories into what we finance. We want to incorporate building electrification equipment. We're adding EV chargers already. And then after that, we're hoping to expand this beyond the public sector as well, to the private sector, to really unlock significant volume and to serve new customer classes. Backing up even a little further, the whole point of this is to create this scalable deployment model, deliver customer savings, and then leverage the savings that we're projecting on the solar and battery storage side to encourage customers to electrify, which is sometimes it's a net neutral economic proposition. So if you can bake that into an attractive economic value proposition, like with solar and battery storage, you feed two birds with one stone. So as I mentioned, DER team is working on a third round with larger sites. The first cohort's capital requirements was about $9 million. The second round, GovPV2, was about $21 million. So in total, those are about $30 million of projects of solar, storage, and EV charging that we're building. The next cohort by itself is approximately $50 million, which is why we need to start looking at external capital sources to fund these projects. So as this scales in megawatts and in dollars required to build the stuff, we have to look at how do we really make this a long-term program? How do we really set ourselves up for sustainable long-term success? At a minimum, what that means to our team presently is that we aim to, in this program, have PPA revenues, so the revenues coming back to PCE, be equal to at least our total investments that we've put into the project. And ideally, to also drive value to customers and to PCE. So that's what a sustainable business model here looks like in the long run. In December 2023, the board allocated $5 million in surplus funds for projects like these, local government energy storage projects. In order to provide broad benefit to the participating member agencies and to really stoke the adoption of battery storage systems, we're hoping that we want to use these funds to buy down the system costs, buy down the PPA price to the customer and make it more attractive. We expect that we will be able to use these funds to buy down the system cost by up to 30%, but the team is still working out the specifics there. The broader fiscal impact here, as I've sort of alluded to, we're looking to pay up to $30 million, and we're asking you tonight for an extra $7 million for all the installation services and the O&M in this program. Our customers pay us back that $30 million over the contract term. We also leverage the ITC, like I mentioned, through the elective pay provision, and we will use the surplus funds to buy down the PPA price to the customer. And all in, this will be net neutral to PCE. So the request of the board of directors is to delegate authority to the CEO to finalize and execute in a form approved by the general counsel, the amended agreement with McMillan Electric, adding battery storage installations and EV charging at current and future solar sites, increasing the contract by $7 million for a total not to exceed by $30 million, and to execute the associated PPA amendments in forms approved by the general counsel for the deployment of solar, battery, and EV charging. And Sean, I'll note that I'm 5 seconds over.
Fantastic. Any questions? Dr. Taylor.
So how are the changes in the tariffs going to change this business model in the next year or two?
It's a salient question. So first of all, as we get new information, we update our financial projections. And we can do things in the contract with our EPC provider and in the contracts with our customers, the PPAs, to shield us in case costs rise, allowing us to either get out or to increase the PPA price with our customer up to a certain point. We also, historically, what has been allowed, and this is most relevant to changes in the ITC, which are very material. Historically, when changes to the ITC happen, if you start construction on your project, then you can safe harbor your project into an early year when ITC is still high before it drops down. And so those would be some of the contractual mechanisms we would seek to try to shield against absorbing the shock there, absorbing the cost in terms of the ITC hit. And I welcome anybody else who has thoughts on the changes to ITC.
So will that program then, I mean, you said it's net neutral. I mean, is that a kind of a locked-in goal that you will keep it net neutral to PCE by adjusting the various costs so that regardless of what happens, it's still net neutral?
Yes, that is the aim.
What, I mean, not to be too blunt, but what kind of commitment is there to meeting that? I mean, because what you're asking is for another 7 million on top of the 30.
No, on top of the 23.
Oh, it's 30 total, sorry, okay, so thank you for the correction. So I guess I'm just trying to understand, so you're targeting that, but what builds into this system that you sort of make it happen?
Well, for one, if prices ever exceed a point where it's financially attractive to customers, then we really do have a problem on our hands, and we would be forthright with our customers prior to signing that agreement. Typically speaking though, once you sign an agreement with a customer, there often is enough runway prior to the start of construction where you know if the costs are going to exceed what you had projected in this space, especially for behind the meter projects. And that even if they start construction and then you get the rug swept out from underneath your feet, you can still manage to seek the safe harbor provision that I mentioned to walk your project into a lower cost project like you had forecasted with the customer initially.
Thank you.
But it is complicated, and I'm oversimplifying it. It's a good question.
I get it.
Yeah.
I certainly appreciate Director Taylor's questions and your answers, but I would just say, can we, that seems important to our approval, that it remains net neutral. I understand an existing project can slip sideways, a little flexibility. But if ongoing projects prove to not be net neutral, you would pause the program, right?
So yes, I mean, in general, yes, but asterisk. With delivering battery storage, we're delivering something that's hard to value. And so oftentimes these agencies will be interested in moving forward with a solar and battery storage system that exceeds their energy costs, but still provides a resilience benefit.
I could try, can I add on here if I may, Peter? It's very important to understand that the local governments will see savings regardless what happens to us. So once the PP is signed and we're committed, especially if we're past a certain point in the development process and we're fully committed to the program, right? The local governments are going to see savings, especially since utility rates are going up and they're going up much faster than they have been in the past. So the local governments are completely insulated here. There is some risk on our side from a cost standpoint, potentially if ITC is changed, but even that seems relatively less likely on the commercial side for projects like this, based on what we've been learning. So again, we are really endeavoring to make sure that the local governments are fully protected. And in the absolute worst case, the reality is PCE is in a relatively good position to absorb some losses here and consider it an incentive investment if absolutely necessary, although that's not our desire.
And that's for signed up projects, but once it flips and we begin to realize that, I mean, I would like to condition my approval on you would pause at that point and not keep signing up new projects.
Oh, yeah,
until
certainly.
you checked into
So
them.
this 7 million is only around storage for the existing projects that have already signed up.
Okay.
We will, before we move forward to round 3, we will certainly be back at the board to discuss the all the implications and approach.
Got it. Okay. With that understanding, I would support this.
Fantastic. Online comment,
Supervisor Spear.
Supervisor Spear.
Thank you. I realize the convenience associated with giving this additional contract to Macmillan, but it's a $7 million contract, so to speak. And should it not be put out to bid?
Yes, when we had initially ran a procurement for Macmillan, the solar vendor here, we were actually seeking a hybrid of services. And we vetted their competencies around battery storage at that time. And we've stayed engaged with them to competitively evaluate them for the third round of procurement. And we think that because of all of those reasons, this falls under the umbrella of the competitive procurement process.
Can we have, is David there, can we have council reflect on that?
Sure, what's the question, Supervisor?
Do we need to go back out for RFP for the additional 7 million being requested for a not to exceed total of 30 million for our existing EPC vendor?
So David, my question is, this is like a new add-on to this contract. Because it's going to be battery storage installation, EV charging. Are we, do we not have an obligation to go out to bid for others that might want to bid on that?
So if I may add a little more color here, it was always the intention in this round of the program to add storage. We did not, at the point where we did the RFP, have all the details on all the mechanics, and we did not want to create the budget in the contract with Macmillan until we had a full understanding. So while the original contract did not have battery storage, the RFP always did. It was always the intention to add battery storage to these sites. So from our perspective, this is actually part of the original plan rather than an expansion of the original plan.
Except they didn't bid it at the original contract.
So at the time that we did the RFP, there were still a lot of questions on exactly how the battery storage would be structured. And as a result, we did not put it into the contract at that point because we did not have enough information. And the details on battery dispatch and pricing and sizing are quite complex, and we didn't feel that we wanted to add that. We were also restricted at that time that we had to do the solar first, and we wanted to make sure that we could do it in time for the NEM 2.0 rules. And as a result, had to move quite quickly to get the advantages of NEM 2.0. So
okay, can I just ask David then to just clarify for, I mean, I don't want to see us have litigation subsequently because we didn't put this out to bid.
Right, what I would suggest, so my understanding is that this is very common practice for PCE. This is how it is operated. However, what I would just suggest is that the motion approving it requires me to look at that and confirm that that approving it without a subsequent RFP is consistent with the law. And I'm happy to do that. But I have to look at the RFP, I have to look at the responses, I have to look much more closely than I can in the meeting right now.
Okay, thank you.
Director Lorraine, then Director Romero.
Thank you. Peter, thank you for a great presentation. I just had a question that I think is going to maybe piggyback a little on Director Dugan's question and others who might be concerned about risks related to adding this 7 million, given some uncertainty right now. Is there an opportunity, I guess, like maybe could you say a little more about, I mean, to me, if it seemed as though battery, some of these projects ended up costing more than was initially anticipated, and it no longer seemed to work, is there a possibility of reallocating that money to more like GovPB solar projects or is there any like flexibility in this 7 million that we might be adding to a project that includes other projects?
Peter mentioned the county's interest in adding storage and possibly solar to county sites. Certainly, I think it will be point of discussion if a number of sites drop out with regards to the battery storage as envisioned here, and the board chooses to move forward with the county sites. Whether or not there's interest in incorporating those county sites into this agreement will probably be a topic that would certainly be net new, and so certainly a point of discussion. Probably, you know, I think any those sites or any other sites would be a topic, I think, for the board, because it certainly would be an expansion again beyond the RFP.
Director Romero?
Yes, I'll start out by saying, look, the markets are roiled right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. Is the ITC gonna stay? Is it gonna go? I'm not one to bet one way or the other. But I don't think we can sit here with the amount of capital we have to deploy, and this is not a lot of money we're talking about. 7 million sounds like a lot, but certainly we can support it. We know that these projects are bringing direct benefits to our cities, the community, the environment. I think $7 million is a reasonable amount of money. And I'm gonna say it now to make a slight bet on it, because we have no idea where the Trump administration or Treasury goes, right? But we know that the program, as we've structured it, is providing savings to our communities in multiple areas. Having said that, I have a quick question about the deployment related to batteries and any arbitrage that might occur, right, in, let's say, selling additional power at a particular time where you can make money. Does that, one, do we envision that, right? It's the DER, potential DER project. And where would that arbitrage income go if it were to materialize?
Yes, great question, Director Romero, thank you. Currently, the vision is that Peninsula Clean Energy would garner the modest benefits from the grid services revenues afforded to the project. There really are not, it's not a deal breaker or maker for the customer side economics. And it's somewhat unproven so far. This is, a lot of these are still, what we're really talking about here are battery pilots for the first few systems. And so we still have to evaluate how much grid services revenue we can capture from the project. Overall, these are going to be very economically advantageous without bolstering the project further with speculative revenues.
Thank you.
Yeah, it helps me understand these things. If I can see a real world worked out example, like a 10-year cash flow projection from the PCE point of view, and then from the customer's point of view. It's too, my little pea brain is too abstract to discuss these things in abstract terms. Can you give us an example like that to help us understand how the cash flows would actually work over time?
Yes, certainly. We have a model, a very sophisticated financial model that we've developed internally. We'd be happy to walk you through the cash flows.
And you go through that, correct me if I'm wrong, so staff goes through that, Director McCune, with your staff, right? At the time that they're having all the meetings to look at the economic feasibility of these projects and whether or not the city wants to engage. So that is happening all the time, just at a staff level.
I just, in terms of approving the
Yeah, fair.
increment, I'd like to see a typical, say it's a $1 million, but whatever it is, $1 million project, here's how it's expected to play out. I think it would help, certainly help me, I think it would help others too.
You give a high level view now, or is that what you're looking for before?
I know you don't have it prepared for right now. If you do, that'd be great. I don't expect to have it in your pocket right now.
We do not.
Yeah, I assume you'd rather not do that verbally, right?
it sounds like the ask is not to do it verbally.
Yeah, you wanna see it on
So,
paper. Okay.
yeah.
We will
But
follow
we
up with
could,
that.
yeah, if interested, we can speak to the energy economics involved here to any extent.
Director Taylor.
Can I ask one more short question? Will GovPV2 be completed before GovPV3 would start? Because if we're talking about this sort of as a pilot, then another way to look at this, and I think this is to Director Ramirez, is if we're looking at a pilot and we lose some money on a pilot, maybe that teaches us something. Whereas once we get into GovPV3, presumably at that point, we want to get it back to this really has to be sort of net neutral to PCE.
Yeah, the timing is such that we would likely not choose a vendor by the time that the first battery pilots were getting started. So we would this is based off of high level timeline projections, but we would likely see some battery installations happening or completed by the time that we would be in an advanced project development and design phase for GovPV3.
Is the GovPV $350 million contract all with local government agencies?
We've not selected a vendor for the third portion of the portfolio yet.
No,
but
I understand, but conceptually is the $50 million, it's not other agencies, it's just the agencies in our county, the government agencies.
Just in our county, correct?
In our service territory.
In our service territory.
In our service territory. Okay.
Any other questions? Asking for a motion?
Public comment.
Oh,
Public comment.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Rick Bonilla once again. Thank you for having public comment. So I've been listening and people may not know, I've been paying very close attention to everything we've done here, since 2014. And so I'm quite aware of the GovPV program, everything that we were planning a few years back that has led us to this point now. I'm very impressed with what I see on San Bruno's roof right now. And what I know San Mateo has on its police department's roof and different things are going on. So I think this is a win-win. I understand the caution and the questions. We're living in I think, a very unpredictable governmental environment right now. But I think that we have protections in place, like Carlos mentioned, in the context of the bank account that PCE has and it's working with right now. The 7 million we're talking about right now, not a lot of money. It is, but it's, compared to what we're, doing with, and risk is assigned, actually. There's risk with basically everything we do somehow, one way or another. So I think it's a win-win. I support it. Thank you very much.
Online comment? No? I'll move the motion in that.
I'll second it, but with the addition that we're gonna find out whether the additional 7 million needs to go out for bid.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
yeah, okay, then I would second that.
Amended.
Go first, second. Oh.
Oh, sorry, I was taking notes. Just,
And the notes say, Nellie, have roll call.
Okay, sorry about that. San Mateo County
Yes,
and Supervisor Spear.
Jackie
call
Spear.
San Mateo.
Jackie Spear, yes.
Yes, I'm gonna call San Mateo County again. That is for Director Rothier, who's not here tonight. So San Mateo County. And Atherton.
Yeah.
Belmont.
Aye.
Brisbane.
Yes.
Burlingame. Yes. Colma.
Yes.
Daly City.
Yes.
East Palo Alto.
Yes.
Foster City.
Yes.
Half Moon Bay.
Yes.
Hillsborough.
Yes.
Los Banos.
Yes.
Menlo Park.
Yes.
Millbrae.
Aye.
Pacifica.
Yes.
Portola Valley.
Aye.
Redwood City. San Bruno,
Aye.
San Carlos.
Yes.
San Mateo,
Yes.
South San Francisco,
Yes.
Woodside.
Yes.
Thank you so much, motion carries.
Fantastic. Board member report. Anybody have a board member report? Tiger Jazz? Anybody?
I'll just be really brief. At our last city council meeting yesterday in South San Francisco, we gave PC a big shout out for the grant we recently received for our downtown lighting. So big thank you from the city of South San Francisco.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
At our last board meeting, we approved, first reading for, a battery storage, plant in, the Bayshore neighborhood in Daly City. So, let's talk about batteries and everything, you know, that's up the pipeline in Daly City.
Great. Anybody else?
I just want to thank you for the FAQ on the batteries. I did send it to our staff. We don't have a big project, but we did have a concern raised regarding the Comcast 72-hour emergency batteries. And it came up at a meeting because they're bigger than is in our code. And so we have to approve it. Anyway, someone had come in with public comment concerned after the Moss Landing. And so the fact that the Comcast batteries are the lithium, I think helps because we didn't know that. So anyway, I sent that to our staff. So and it was great that it was that PDF, easy to forward. So thank you.
Okay, yes.
Quick note from the clerk. Form 700 season is upon us. So this is just an annual thing for submitting your Form 700s. This year, we are no longer filing via NetFile. We are multi-county jurisdiction, City of Los Gatos, and so we need to file with the FPC directly. There's been some delays with the FPC, and so this year we get to file paper copies. Nobody's more thrilled than me. And we have, Brianna has set aside printed copies of Form 700 and the schedules for you to pick up on your way out. Mail them to me if you want to complete them now. I am happy to stay and wait for any Form 700s because I will see you all on April, hopefully see none of you on April 1st because they'll all be invited. That's all. Thank you.
Anybody else? No more action. This meeting is adjourned, 8:45 p.m.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you.
Congratulations.